Sachs is the Vice President, Director of B. Mike Carpenter is Director of A. I'm Jeff Woodward, Secretary and Treasurer.
Minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, the minutes from the last meeting. This is the meeting from July 23rd, Friday. This is the Board of Directors organizational meeting minutes. Okay, I had the roll call. Neil was at that point Vice President, Director of Building C. Mike Carpenter was Director of Building A. Karen Sachs was the Secretary. Jeff Walden was the Treasurer. Jim Gabriel and Andy were there.
Louder, please.
Service.
We can't
Hear
hear.
me?
No.
How about now?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Do you want me to start over? I'll start over.
No, it's okay.
People on that side have better hear. Okay. There was a quorum present. Neil made a motion to appoint Karen Sachs as Director of Building B. It was seconded by Michael Carpenos. The two directors voted in favor, so Karen was the Director of B. Then after that, there was an organizational meeting, and it was the way it worked out was Neil was determined to be president, Vice President was Karen Sachs, and Jeff Walden was Secretary and Treasurer. The meeting was adjourned at 1:05 p.m. Any questions on the minutes? Do we have a motion to accept them? Okay. Everybody in favor? Okay.
Carried unanimously. Okay, the financial report.
Okay, here's the Treasury report. This is as of June 30th, 2021. Now, I might point out that the minutes and other stuff and the Treasurer's report for the financial is on the website. I think it's Rexford. Yeah, it's rexford.residence.com. You can get on there. You have to put in your email, come up with a password, and it has all the information. There's the information about you, your apartment, and everything else. Anyway, so this is a snippet of what is the long financial report. Okay, this is as of June 30th, 2021. The cash operating funds, that's the money we have in our operating budget, is $437,454. The total amount we have in the reserves for the reserve issues is $1,033,410. So the total assets, adding those two up, is $1,470,864. The current liabilities, that means what we owe, is $97,528. The reserve liabilities is $1,033,410. So the total liability is $1,130,938. So the difference between our liabilities and our assets is the, in quotes, members' equity, that's what they call it, and that's $339,926. Any questions or anything?
Okay, let's go on to old business. We have two things here. We have elevator remodeling and proposed upgrade. Building A is going to have the interior of the elevators remodeled starting in September. Contract's been let, and they're just going to wait until they get the materials that they need to finish it. And right now, materials are in short supply. So we're hoping for the middle of September. It may go longer than that. I have no idea. Secondly, Oracle has proposed that we rebuild all the elevator doors and everything else. The price tag on that's $48,100. When I first got that bid, we went out to several different elevator companies to find out if this was really a good idea. Delaware, who now does West's elevators, West gave us the name of Delaware. So we talked to Delaware, and there was Michael and Joey, Stan, and myself. And what Delaware told us back then was that it was not necessary. That all the parts are available, there's nothing that's going to become obsolete. So at that particular time we said, I don't know. Well, since then I found out that there's over 10,000 elevators just like ours, and if anybody thinks that those parts are not going to be continually available, I think they're wrong. Now, we haven't really made a final decision on this yet. However, I'm not inclined to spend $48,000 if all the parts are available. And I've had 3 different elevator companies tell me that. So, the problem that I see is there's 2 different philosophies regarding the maintenance of elevators. Oracle seems to be run until it fails, and Delaware seems to be continue to maintain it, keep it greased, and everything else. And I'll tell you, we've had some issues like with elevators that are squeaking real bad, that have done it for months, and Oracle finally comes in, fixes it, and they have to fix it again and again and again because they run the suspensions to dry. And they did it in building A. That was a yes from Mike. And they did it in our building. And I don't ride the elevator, so I didn't know about it until a couple of the residents pointed it out to me. So anyway, my inclination is to change our maintenance program from Oracle to Delaware. It'll cost 75 cents per month per unit to do that. But over 24 years is how long it would take to pay that $48,000 off at that 75 cents per unit cost. So I think we're better doing it this way. And if we're wrong and we have to fix it, we can still fix it. But I'm voting for let's properly maintain it. Let's keep it greased. Let's keep everything lubricated. Let's look at the parts before they go out and see how that works out. That's my thought. Anybody have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I'm a retired builder. I'm very familiar with the elevator doors. They're mostly made out of stainless. All the hardware is repairable and replaceable. There's no reason in the world why you would spend $48,000.
No, I think $48,000 is a complete waste of money.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you something else. When I talked to Jamie about it, who's the foreman over at Century Village, Mike's elevator, we probably had 30 service calls between January and April where it'd go out. And a lot of times they were instructed to let Stan know or let me know when they had a call. And I'd run over there, I'd press the button, and go to every floor up and come to every floor down, and it wasn't broken. Well, I had a conversation with Jamie in, I think it was the end of May, not exactly sure. What I told him, I said, I says, if you can't fix this elevator so it stays fixed, and that was the same problem West had with their elevator in Oracle, I says, I'm moving this thing to Delaware. Well, since that conversation, we haven't had a single call on it. And during the last 3.5 years, I've had 3 calls on building C and 1 call on building B. So these things really are in good shape. They just need to be properly maintained, lubed, and taken care of. And that's what I see from Delaware. So if there's anybody here that doesn't think that we should
Let me mention one more thing. I've heard people express concern about elevators being old and falling. You got a mic?
Yeah, he's got a mic.
I'll try to speak up.
we'll give you the mic because we've got
Okay.
2 of these wireless mics here.
Anyway, I'm a
Hold it up.
retired builder, as I said. I'm a retired builder, as I said. And people here have expressed concerns over the safety of elevators. I just want to let everybody know these elevators operate on a hydraulic piston. They're not on cables like they are up north. And so the worst case that can happen is that a hose bursts and it would just go down until it hits the first floor, and that would be it. So you don't have to worry about getting hurt on one of these elevators. Okay, I just want to mention that.
I'll make one more comment, then we'll move on to the next item. I talked to Jamie, and I asked him a question in April. I says, how many parts are obsolete? And he paused for about 30 seconds. He says, I can't think of any. And I says, well, how many parts are going to be obsolete in the next 5 years? And he says, I can't think of any. So I said, so why do you want to do this? He says, well, really, if you do it, he says, it'll reduce our calls over here by 80%.
You can still pay the same monthly.
Yeah. So what it was, this is all to benefit them. It's a make work project. You spend your $48,000. We won't have to make as many service calls, and we'll still charge you the same amount of money for your service. So this is, to me, this is not a good idea. So we did do one thing yesterday. Our attorney sent Oracle a letter telling them that we will not automatically renew, because in their contract, if you don't stop them from automatically renewing it, 60 days before your contract expires, then it automatically rolls over. So we made sure that that happened. Any questions? Comments? Okay, let's move on to the next item. Roof inspections and maintenance. Our roofs are in really good shape. We have Copper's roofs. Those roofs are the same ones that they have on the Pentagon. They should last 30 to 40 years. The Pentagon, after 40 years on theirs, last year replaced it 114,000 squares. So they're in really good shape. We did have one problem, and I hope we got it all last year. Maybe we didn't. We're going to have another inspection before too long. We use Infinity Roofing. They're the best one I could find. And the goosenecks that are on the roof, that's the part where the copper tubing and the wires go down through each stack of buildings. I call it a stack. You got four apartments on top of each other. So they have these goosenecks. When they were originally installed, they were installed improperly, and we had to fix somewhere between 20 and 30 of those goosenecks last year. And it's $1,500 per gooseneck. But so far, with the heavy rains and stuff that we've had, I'm not aware of any leaking in first, second, or third story apartments. If it doesn't come in on the 4th floor, it comes in on one of the lower units, it's a gooseneck or something else to do with it. So anyway, that's what we're doing. And we have 2 inspections a year, and they come up and they tell us they give us a list of what they would like to do, and they prioritize it from it needs to be done now to be aware of it, and we've got to do it in the next year or 2. Any questions?
When's the next inspection?
I can't hear you.
When is the next inspection for the roof?
I don't know. We haven't set it up yet. They may have already come over, but I don't think we've set it up yet.
Yes, there is a problem.
And what's the problem?
There is the popcorn that's coming through mine, which I'm on the 3rd floor. It's coming from the top, which also has happened to my neighbor, to where there is water coming down the corners.
Have you called First Service and reported it?
I did once.
And did they come out and look at it?
I took care of the problem myself. They said it was internally because it was inside my apartment unit. But there is other people that are having the same problem. And it only happens when it's raining.
Okay. Angie, have First Service come over and take a look at that and look at the apartment above them to see if there's anything there that's happening, because I'm not aware of it. Nobody's told me about it. What's your unit number?
3046 Rexford 6.
So then, let's take a look at that and look at it and see if there's any kind of a leak on the apartment above them, which would be my first thought insofar as a 3rd floor leakage is concerned. Exactly where's it at?
It's happening by the exit signs. You know, in the corner where our exit signs is, and it's coming straight down the middle where it goes between mine and my next door neighbor.
Oh, so it's not in your apartment, it's out on the catwalk.
No, it's in my apartment, it's in her apartment.
So it could be an expanded pipe. You have a pipe that really goes.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure, but it would be appreciated if somebody could take a look at it.
Well, we'll get it looked at.
Okay, thank you.
I can't do anything if you don't tell me about it.
No, the first one was because of my neighbor upstairs had a leakage, and I had to be responsible for taking care of that. So I did, that was done, but then it's, before I moved in, there's been popcorn since it's been sealed up there too.
Okay.
Okay?
We'll get it looked at.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have a problem in my bathroom. On 1035 Rexford B. There's rust around the fixture in the bathroom on the ceiling.
Call First Service, tell them about it, get them over there to look at it. Because you're on the 1st floor?
Yes.
Okay, if it's on the first floor, the problem is more than likely that something's leaking on the apartment above you. And their bathroom's in the same place yours is. It could be a gooseneck under the sink, or it could be a wax ring around the toilet. But get First Service to look at it. What's that? Did you get the apartment number? Okay. Okay, anything else with these 2 topics? No? Okay, we're gonna move on to new business. Number 1, we want transparency. I've been trying to get meetings at the swimming pool here for the last 5 years. Now that I am the president, we will have meetings. And my suggestion is you all need to come to the meetings. You need to get your friends to come to the meetings. Because if you don't come to the meetings and we tell you about what's going on, or that we have, like we did in January, at the annual meeting, people were complaining about the landscaping, so we set up a tour with Todd over at Maxim. We went around and everybody told them what they wanted. and we took and did what we could that was within the budget. So, you asked for it, you got it. Now, I know there's some people that would like to have more stuff, but we have budgets, and we're not breaking budgets to do stuff like that. Say again? Oh, okay. So anyway, we're going to have transparency, complete transparency. The other thing I'm going to bring up is this. We have 3 directors, and there's been a lot said recently about only having 3 directors. But here's the way it works. This is what Jack Turkle told me, and this is what Stan told me. Because they had never been able to get more than that, and they got tired of trying. So, these 2 directors need to agree on whatever it is that we have to vote on. If they can't agree, I abstain. I am not the controlling influence here. I can talk, I can give my opinions, they can talk about it, we can have a discussion, but if I can't get these 2 to agree, there's going to be no agreement. And that's the way it works. And this is how Stan did it, it's how Jack Turkle did it, and we've had this board for 40 years and it's worked well. We've got money in the bank and we've got reasonable costs on our monthly coupon. So that's the way it's going to work. Now, does anybody have anything to say about that? You're not a resident.
Excuse me, I am representing one of your unit owners with a power of attorney, and I have the same rights and privileges as if that unit owner were in the room. I would like to be recognized.
Okay, speak.
Century Village has 4 associations that have 3 buildings only. Rexford, of course, is 1. Newcastle, Lincoln, and Height would be the 4th one. All of those associations started out with 1 director for each building, just like Rexford. All but Rexford have added directors over the years. Newcastle has 9 directors, still only 3 buildings. That's 3 directors per building. Height and Lincoln have 5 directors. Yes, 5 directors. So that means they have 2 directors. I'm sorry. Height has 1 director at large and 2 directors per building for a total of 7. And Lincoln has 1 director per building and 2 directors at large. What is a director at large? They have the same rights and privileges as a building director, only they represent the entire association and they have to be elected by all 3 buildings. The individual building directors just run in that building. There's a reason why everybody has done this except for Rexford. It's more democratic. And I was very close to your late director and president, Stan Novick. And he told me over the years, all he had to do was agree with 1 other person on the board, and that would control the association. They didn't even go to the 3rd director because it goes by a majority. You don't have to have a unanimous vote. If 2 of these directors say so, that's the rule. So when he says he won't do anything, the whole board has to agree, that's not true. It's a majority of the board, in this case just 2. Now, when Stan Novick died, you were left with only 2 directors, and you had a very dangerous situation because you couldn't pass any business if the 2 directors were in disagreement. You always need an odd number so that you don't have a tie. So I don't think that this is a good idea. I think it's anti-democratic. He knows that he can control just 1 director and he controls the whole association. It's dangerous, it's unnecessary, and it's being done when no other association is done. done that. I live in Cornwall, we have 5 buildings, we have 2 directors at large for a total of 7. Ask yourself, why does this president
Okay.
want to have only 3? Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna go, okay.
We lived here 15 years, and you just mentioned for 40 years of work. Why break it? What do you need a bunch of BS when you have 2 people who care about the building, who take care of business? It's clean, it's quiet, it's safe. You want a bunch of BS? Get 100 directors. You'll be there all night. It works the way it is. So he can say what he wants. He doesn't live where we live. He's very good at saying what's not right, but you proved even before you came on the site that it works. If you have something to say, you're open to hearing. So prove more than enough. You don't need 7, nothing will get done. You have to be at.
I actually was told that by one of the other presidents at the president's meeting on Monday. Okay, anybody else got a comment on that? Okay, we've exhausted that topic. Okay, water heaters. We've had several water heaters break this month and flooded not only their own apartment, but other apartments. I've got one guy that lives right below me that his water heater broke, and it took him 6 weeks to remediate the mold in that apartment. My suggestion is, and you really ought to go look at your water heaters and see how old they are. If they're 10 years old, get rid of them and put a new one in. The cost to not do that could be huge. And it does a lot of damage. It can get into your cabinets, it can get into your carpet, and they have to tear out a lot of your drywall. It's just really a mess. So we keep talking about this, you know, I tell everybody in my building and everywhere else, if you've got an old water heater, get rid of it. They don't cost that much. Yeah, and they also have these alarms that fit in the bottom of the pans. But if you're out to lunch or something and it falls through, it ain't gonna make much difference because those, you know, there's no automatic stops on the water input side. Yes. I had them when I was in Georgia, and I'll tell you what, I love them. The only problem is, and I don't know, is that there's a possibility that they won't meet code because it may more overamp. However, when it comes to that, one of my suggestions, I keep my apartment at 70 degrees, 24/7. I like it
Carter
cold.
won't like that.
But I also have LED lights and CFLs. And all my appliances are Energy Star, including my televisions. And my monthly bill is $62. I put the highest SEER-rated air conditioner in my apartment when I bought it. So you can manage it. CFLs and LEDs will really save you a lot of money because they all run at about less than a watt. Okay?
I have a question.
What?
I work for Home Depot. I can also tell you that the majority of the contractors and everybody else works with the tankless. They are coded if you have the right people to install them. And they do save on energy and very efficient. So that is to do, go ahead and do a tankless
Yes.
There are some of us who are hard of hearing, and without using a mic, I couldn't hear what the lady was saying. I think it's just common courtesy that if you are speaking before a big group in a room this size, that everyone should be required to speak at a microphone.
Noted. Noted.
I was just telling everybody that I do work with Home Depot. I'm very familiar with the tankless water heaters. I got a lot of contractors that go by and they build the houses now with the tankless. They are more efficient. They cost less in the long run. They give you alarms, and you can get them set up to be coded as long as you have the right person installing them. So they have had good reputations versus a $500 water heater that you would need to replace otherwise, which, like Neil said, it would cost you with the mold and the, renovations of boards, and you don't need all that. But from what I am around and have been seeing through the store and people coming in, tankless has a good reputation.
When you say coded, what do you mean?
You have to have permits that are right for the install, and you have to have the right people to do it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
code means the building code. Okay, and I can tell you from past experience that those are the best that you can do, because they're not heating, a tanked water heater is heating water all the time. It goes down a little bit and then it heats it back up, and it goes down and it heats it back up. And they use probably 5 times as much energy as a tankless. Yes.
Are you saying that tankless heaters are an option in Rexford?
You get the permit.
Yeah, if you have something to say, why don't you come up here, because Jeff's got to take notes. And come up here and we'll give you a mic and you can talk.
It's been my understanding that we're not allowed to put tankless water heaters.
I have heard that they don't meet code, okay? But if you can talk to an electrician or a plumber. Plumbers don't want to do it because that's going to be the last water heater they're going to put in your apartment. And they don't like to do it. But I think that if you check with, in fact, I'll get somebody to check with Palm Beach County and see how that works.
I was told that the wiring in the building won't handle it. That's my understanding.
Well, it's the box. But I've taken and put I've looked at what my amperage is on mine. If I turn on everything in my house at the same time, I don't fill half of that amperage.
So if you have a new panel put in, then it will be allowed, is what you're saying?
Possibly. We'll have somebody check with Palm Beach County.
Because I have a friend that's ready to renovate the kitchen right now, and that would be a godsend if we could do that.
What building?
They're in Exeter, so.
Oh, okay. But anyway, that works pretty good.
Yeah, I know that they're bad in my house.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Keith?
Okay. That's it for water heaters. Violation Committee.
I'd like to comment on this subject, please. Neil, you're speaking about codes and building codes and permits and so on. You stated that you put a new air conditioner in your apartment when you moved in, is that correct?
Yeah, and it was permitted and it was done by an air conditioning company.
So
what's up?
I did a little research on your unit, and I went to the building code website.
Okay.
And there are no permits listed for Neil Stevens' apartment. There's nothing for air conditioning, there's nothing for water heater, and I understand you did a substantial kitchen alteration that involved removing the dome, putting in a drop ceiling with electrical wires, and also new cabinets. All of these things require permits. Permits protect not just the unit owner, but they protect the neighbors in the building. If subpar work is done with electricity or plumbing, it can have catastrophic effects on the rest of the building. Floods create mold, electrical problems can start fires. I think that as a director and a president, you need to lead by example. I want to know if you can explain why, and I'll give you the copy, there are no permits listed for your unit, sir.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. All the paperwork that was done was submitted to First Service. They approved it, and it was done correctly. So go sit down and shut up.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, that's not right to talk to people around here. It really is. We're not here to argue, we're not here to.
Well, it's really none of Fred Hadley's business.
Well, we know everybody has something to say, whether it be bad or good.
Thank you. Okay, next item. Water, or violation committee. A lot of the other associations have a violation committee because we've got rules that are set up. And the rules that are set up are published in the bylaws. There's some that have been voted on by the associations. What the other associations are doing is they've got a violation committee because there's some people that just keep violating things over and over and over again. Whether it's putting stuff out on the catwalks, noise late at night, those kinds of things. So, I'd like to have a violation committee, if we can get one. And when there's a violation, First Service sends out a friendly notice and says, you're doing this. Then they send out a second notice. Then they send out a third notice. So, it's been suggested that we have a violation committee that will fine people for doing certain types of things. Those violations and those fines will be strictly up to the committee. The committee will be anonymous so that nobody knows who it is except for the board, and that's what will happen. Yeah. So anyway, if you're interested, let me know.
I have a question. Do you need me to come again to a line?
We've got to do an amendment on that first. So anyway, that's what we're thinking about.
Do you want me to use the mic?
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand that people do have hard of hearing. I have a neighbor that came to me and asked me, because they got a new TV, because they couldn't hear, that would this bother you? And of course I said no, they were reasonable people that went to bed at a reasonable hour. But a lot of people are hard of hearing and they don't realize that the loud is a problem. And either you walk next door and you tell them that there's a problem, it's too loud. You work with the people next to you. There's no reason for violations. Just talk to people and they'll be able to at least come to terms, I would assume. And if they don't, then sure, let one of the committee members know that there's a problem or call First Residential and they'll handle it. And they'll maybe give them a pass, a free pass. But there's no need for reason to go and violate and charge them and whatever. I think it could be worked out amongst each other.
And we're talking about loudness.
Yeah, there's all kinds of violations that are in there. I mean, there's people that hang stuff outside, they put stuff in their window, it's not supposed to be there. And everybody loves the rules until there's a rule they don't like. And then it becomes a problem. So anyway, we're just asking if anybody anybody's interested in doing that. If you are, then we'll look at it. If we can't find a group that wants to do it, then we'll forget about it.
Neil, excuse me, my understanding is the violation, I'm not sure if it's clear.
We can't
Mike.
hear, we can't hear.
It's on.
Right. My understanding is that the violations committee does not come up with the violations. Okay? The board, if there's a violation, the board comes up with it. If there's a violation, they ask First Service sends a letter, blah, 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 and then, then I believe the person is entitled to a hearing, okay, as to whether they agree with the violation, they did it, or they didn't. And then I think that person, they kind of have a hearing, in quotes, before the violations committee. And I think the violations committee kind of decides whether they're innocent, guilty, or whatever, and they come up with what the violation should be. Because my understanding is, I think the violation, it can't be more than $100 for the first violation, and if they keep doing it, the most it could be is $1,000. And the way the violations work, if they're found guilty and they don't pay, it's not a whole major production. They put a lien on their property. So when they ever go to sell the place, I guess Century Village gets the first $100. But the violations committee, in my understanding, does not decide whether there's a violation. Should there be? That's up to the board.
Oh, yeah, but I was told, and I don't know, it's been told to me, and I think maybe First Service told me, that you can't fine anybody unless you've got a violations committee.
Right.
And you have to amend it, you have to amend your document.
And we gotta amend the documents.
Yes.
So anyway, that's just, it was a thought that came up, so I put it down here.
Well, committee to monitor your violations, but as far as finding, you have to try to amend it.
Okay, the next thing is structural roof and electrical. Structural roof inspections. Since the Surfside collapse, all the counties, the municipalities, are initiating new inspection requirements. And those inspection requirements are due every 40 years now. But Palm Beach, and they only go to the Turnpike, has cut theirs to 30 years and then a 10-year re-inspection. None of this has been put into the budget. We have got initial bids, $4,000 for the structural inspection on the building, and $3,000 for the roof. And I don't know that we're going to have to do electrical inspections. No, that's for all three buildings. Before I came here, maybe 2 or 3 years, FP&L went through the entire Century Village and redid all the underground distribution lines, all the transformers, and all the work all the way up to each one of the electric meters. So I don't know that we're going to be required to do an electrical inspection as well. But we are going to be required to do both a building structural and roof structural inspection. I had a conversation with Infinity the other day to make sure that we weren't going to intrude on the roofs that we've got. They're coal tar roofs, but they have to be done, if they cut through them, they have to be done just right. And Infinity said that they would cut all the core samples for them, and then properly repair the roofs and send the proof of repair back to Coppers. So we've got that set up, it's just when we get around to doing it. And we might be pretty close to the top of the list because we're 40 years old, and that is required at 40 years. But this money is not in the budget to do this. We had no idea it was coming. So, this is something that may increase your coupon next year. We don't know how that's going to work out. Any questions? Okay.
How long they give you to repair that what you're talking about?
I'm not sure. I haven't talked to them. First Service has got the bids on this, and we will have a conversation with them and find out exactly how we want to do it. The roofs are going to be inspected in one of two ways. They're either going to come in and they're going to drill core samples along the roof to check and see if there's any water intrusion or anything else. Secondly, they may do what they call what's the name of the scan? A nuclear scan that can tell. It's kind of like you use infrared on wires and stuff. It can see down inside the concrete and see if there's any corrosion on the rebar that's in there, if there's any spalling or anything else that's in the in the roofs, because our roofs are concrete slabs. So we're going to get that done. I'll let you know how much it cost us when we have our next meeting, and we'll go from there. Anybody else? Okay. Painting. Next year we're going to paint the buildings, and it's going to be a two-part process, I think. First part is preparation, and the last time we had the buildings painted, I don't think we got as good a job as we could have had. Not happy with it. So I really want to look at the preparation. The first part of that's the stucco, because we've got bubbles in the stucco throughout the buildings. And I believe that's because there's been water that's got behind them and it's caused them to bubble up. So I want all those bubbles repaired properly by a company that does stucco. And all the places where they've done it before, but they didn't fill it properly, so they just did it on the surface. And you've got areas where you can see a circle where it's not even. And I'd like to get all that fixed. Next, we've got door frames. If any of you walked around Rexford much, our door frames are in horrible condition. They look bad. And in some of them, we've got some severe wood rot. But they're about on the bottoms. And they've been painted over and over and over again where the paint's just been slopped on them. And anytime anybody hits them with anything, it chips off. And then we got the brown and the white. And I really would like to get this fixed. I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't know that if maybe each one of you might want to, if we go out and find a contractor that can fix all that and give you a flat rate price, that you might want to sign up with them, pay for it yourself, because you do own those door frames. But I'd really like to get this done because it looks horrible. And I hate it when you just get globs of paint that's all over the place. It just does not look good. So I'd like to really get this fixed and get it fixed right so it looks really good. I'm gonna look around, see if there's some contractors, if any of you people have any friends that are contractors that might be interested in doing this. We'll see. It's gotta be a painting contractor, but we need to sand them down at least, clean off the mess, put some primer on them, and then make them ready for paint when we paint the entire building. And after our last paint job, I'm not entirely convinced that our painters are capable of properly Yes.
I'll get the mic. Most of the damage is being caused by walkers.
Keith, turn the mic towards you. Turn it towards you. That's better.
Most of the damage, I believe, is caused by walkers and, people go in the doors. It's only on the side that you come in. It's not like it's rotting. It's just being tore out.
No, there's some that have got wood rot in them where the water's gone
It's
down.
damage. What I'm getting at is I think if you replace it with wood, you're gonna have the same problem. And I think you should maybe have a piece of stainless steel or something like that. I think should be a.
That was my next suggestion, is you get a stainless steel corner that will go up above the doorknob on the building, or on the door. And I'm looking at that
If
too.
you get a bunch of them at the same time, I'm sure you get a bunch of them done at the same time, I think you can get a pretty good deal on it.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
And,
That's the only way to fix that, because the wood's just gonna chip again.
yeah. Well, we've got some that's been chipped up high because people carrying stuff in and not paying attention to what they're doing and they drag it across.
Well, that can be fixed, that's a one-time problem.
But still, we've still got way too much paint on these doors. They have been painted, painted, and painted, and painted, and it's thick,
Yeah.
and it's a mess.
But that, like I said, the only way to forestall that problem is put metal in,
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Move the question, Karen.
Okay. Karen brought up a point about people that are putting in new locks, and they don't paint around the lock because maybe the base isn't as big as the old one was, or they take and they put the the push button locks in. So, yeah, and we don't have the paint. People keep asking me, do you have paint? No, we don't. We don't have the same color paint that it was painted with. And so the only way to do that is take a chip off of it and go up to Home Depot and have them match it. They can do that with a spectrometer that they use, and they can go right on the color. However, at this particular point in time, I don't know that there's that much, it's not worth doing that much on it. So we'll just wait and see what happens. Okay, now the next part of this deal is the colors. Now last time we painted, everybody was not real thrilled with the colors that we used. I will tell you, I had nothing to do with that choice. But I would like suggestions from people about colors.
How about pink and blue?
Yeah.
What kind of colors you want. I kind of like Newcastle's colors, but I don't think we want to be exactly the same as Newcastle. But they did a pretty good job with their colors. So I'd like, anybody that's got any suggestions, about the color of what we're going to paint the place, I'd like to hear about it. Yeah, yeah. 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 But anyway, I want your input on how we're going to do it.
Neil?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a suggestion that the color, not the actual color, but how we're going to decide on the color. Just thought about this. I think a lot of people complain about the gardening committee, the way it worked, everybody doing pencils, but a lot of people didn't know that.
Speak into the mic.
The reason I'm saying this is I think a lot of people had complaints first service through a robocall or something that we could actually, because some people might not be at the meeting today, but might be interested in giving input on the color. So maybe we were to have like an in quotes color committee where whoever wants to be on it would have an opportunity to be on it to express their input. Let that committee research some colors and then present it. We could present it at the board meeting and then we could decide. That way, everybody will have a chance to offer their input to cut down on the complaints. Okay? That would be fine. Okay, so I'm not exactly for one, I can figure out how to do it, but I think we ought to have sort of maybe one of the directors could be in charge of the in quotes color committee and let first service contact robocall or something. First service contact through robocall or something, and whoever's interested, let them contact by a certain time one of the directors who's in charge, and then just go from there.
I agree.
That in a minute.
Okay. Now I want to cover operations a little bit. The way I've set this up is Jeff is the secretary and the treasurer. Prior to now, he's signed maybe 2 checks over the last 3 years. I don't sign checks. I'm not on a bank account and will not be on the bank account. I approve payment. I verify them, because when the checks come in, they've got the invoices attached to them. I approve it. I give it to Jeff. Jeff signs it. That way we have no conflict of interest, and I like to keep it that way. That's again, total transparency. Anybody wants to see anything, they can see it. Most of the invoices that we pay are on the website. And actually, if you just type Rexford in on your browser, it'll bring you up to Rexford's website, and then you just click on it. It's not that difficult. You don't actually even need to know what the IP address is. Okay, next. And this, everybody's paying real close attention to me here. We're in trouble. Insurance. Insurance is going up 30%. That's the estimate that I got at the president's meeting on Monday. It went up 20% last year. So be prepared for some what might be some pretty good increases on the coupon for next year. The reason that the insurance is going up, they tell me, is because of all the fires and the disasters and everything else that are taking place throughout the country right now. California's got fires that are bigger than the whole city of Chicago. And there's no end in sight. Last year, like I said, we had a 20% increase, but this year it looks like we might get as much as a 30. We're hoping it isn't that high. We probably won't know until November, or September, October, November. Usually it comes in end of September, mid-October. Plastridge is our insurance agent, and they're working on it. The insurance committee is looking to see if they can find any other brokers that can give us, wants to quote a better deal. However, there's not that many brokers that can do the kind of insurance that Century Village needs. You're not going over to your local State Farm agent to find anything. So, I would suspect that it's not going to be good. So I just wanted to apprise you of that. Door numbers. We got a lot of door numbers that are peeling off, and I want to order a complaint set of door numbers for Rexford. All those that are peeling off will change now, and when we paint the building, we'll change those again. But they look horrible. I don't like it, and we just need to do it. No, not right now. I want the unit numbers replaced right now. The other signs on the laundry rooms and things like that, we'll replace those when we paint the building. I don't see any point doing that twice. Okay. Any questions up to this particular point? Yes.
At what point would it make sense to self-insure?
You can't self-insure here.
They won't let you?
No.
I mean, what are you paying for?
Well, I think we paid, for Rexford, we paid about $113,000 this year. I'm not sure, I don't remember the number, but I know it was over 100.
Was it liability mostly?
Last year's 20% was primarily liability. That's why all but 2 of the associations took down all their hoses and prevented anybody from washing cars, because that was a potential problem. What we did was we went through the entire, all the parking lots everywhere everybody walks, and fixed any place that you could possibly trip, so that we got rid of our trip and falls. Doesn't mean people can't fall down the stairs, and we can get sued for that too, but we did as much as we could. But this is everything. And I don't know what it, I think we were about $113,000, $115,000 just for Rexford last year. And for the whole village, it takes huge, huge companies to provide the kind of insurance that you need for the entire village. And that's all the associations. And I'll tell you what, the insurance companies are taking an absolute beating out there this year. I mean, everywhere. And so that all, it comes back on everybody. Just because we don't have fires here in Florida doesn't mean that we're not going to have to participate in the nationwide catastrophes. Now, one of the things that I also wanted to bring up is we want unit owners' input. We want unit owners' suggestions. And if they've got requests for something, we want to look at it. We really do. Now, then you have to keep one thing in mind. If you've got requests, you want something done, we have to live within the budget. We can't just go, if somebody wants a whole bunch of flowers someplace, we can't do it right now. We expanded our budget on what we've done this year. So there isn't going to be anything new. Next year, we could probably do some stuff. We're talking to Todd, all the ficus plants that we've got around. He thinks we should pull them out, they're diseased. We'd go up to them and take one of the branches and just twist it, and it breaks off. It's because the white flies have infected the ficus plants. And to replace all those, take them out and replace them with something else, it's a $35,000 bill. So we may start accruing for that and then do that in the next 3 or 4 years. And Todd says if we did something like that, he would finance the balance until it was paid for. Last but not least, if you want to participate, you want to be heard, you need to come to the meetings. And as soon as it cools off, we'll have meetings out at the swimming pool. But I've had people complain, well, you did this landscaping, didn't tell us about it, didn't talk to us about it. Well, we talked about it in the annual meeting, and if you weren't there, you didn't know about it, nobody's going run door to door and try to convince you that you need to be there. I'm planning on having a meeting at least every other month, and if something comes up, it'll be every month. But I want you to know everything that's going on, all those things that are going to affect you, so that there's complete and absolute transparency around here, and everybody knows what's going on. And if you don't come, don't complain. So, any other questions, comments?
Neil, you made a statement that all your permitting and everything was turned over to First Service. Angie, is that correct? Do you have paperwork for his unit 2023 on his air conditioning?
This is,
kitchen?
you're out of order. Sit down, shut up.
And the other thing is, sit down, shut up. This is what we call a condo commando.
Sit down.
There's no respect
Sit
for unit
down.
owners. I'm representing
Sit
unit
down.
owners.
We don't want to hear
He is
you.
telling the
We don't
unit
want to
owner
hear
I
you.
represent to sit down and
Don't
shut
want to
up.
hear you.
This guy is out of control. He doesn't belong in that position.
Go
Thank you.
away. Go where you belong, not here.
I belong right
You
here.
don't belong here.
Yes, I
No,
do.
you don't.
Who the hell are you to tell me I don't?
Well, who the hell are you?
I have a power of attorney here.
Big deal.
All right?
Anybody
Right
has
here.
power of attorney.
This is why I
What, you got it
belong
from somebody
here.
who don't live here?
See this?
You got it from somebody who don't
See
live
that?
here?
No,
You got it from someone who don't
No,
live
no,
here?
no. I got it from a unit owner.
That's right, because he doesn't live here.
No. I got it from a resident.
That's right, he doesn't live here.
If that's true, why do you think they're letting me in this meeting? You don't know what you're talking about, sir.
Fred,
This is my
please.
power of attorney.
This is no need and no time for argument's sakes. It's a different time
I sent it to
now.
you already.
People are getting sick. People are getting aggravated. Nobody needs to die over this conversation. So let's keep it positive, would you please? Seriously, this is supposed to be home for everybody and peace. And if you can't make it that way, don't come. We don't need negativity.
Thank you. Okay, we just talked about how I talk. Here's the email that I got from Fred Hadley three or 4 weeks ago. What's the crime here? Disclosure of the new board and officers to the owners without kissing your dick.
Okay, we don't need to hear all this kind of stuff. Let's not.
That's how Hadley deals with people.
Nobody needs to hear this stuff. It doesn't belong in this meeting.
Put it in writing.
Okay, I think we've about covered everything here. How many of you think Fred Hadley should be here? Raise your hands. How many people think Fred Hadley should be here? And is providing any decent help? Constructive help. How many would rather that he is not here? Okay, that's the end of our meeting. We're going to adjourn. Any comments or anything you want to do? Our new web or email addresses are on the banners.
Thank you very much for all your hard work. And you're the only one that can be able to climb up on the roofs, walk around this place, and take care of it the way it needs to be taken care of. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Good to see you. Good to
Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Wow, what's the group?
Who are you representing? I'm a licensed attorney.
You can ask your president that question. He has all the information.
No problem. Because I am licensed in Florida, I just wanted to.
Yeah, it's legal. It's been witnessed. I'll show you the power of attorney.
Please.
All right, there's no secret. This is a condo
I know it's no
condo
secret.
meeting. This is the power of attorney.
I was just going to say, this is America.
Right.
Well, this is America.
This is who I'm representing.
May I?
Sure.
May I?
Well, you can look. You don't have to touch it.
No, I don't have
COVID. Just look. All right.
Oh.
These are the witnesses, and this is a notary statement from the Citibank.
I want to see the date on that, please.
Don't worry. It's all been vetted by Dan Wasserstein, your lawyer. And
But that's dated 1973, sir.
what is it?
It looks like in the lower right-hand
No,
corner.
that says page 2 or 3. What are you talking about?
Well, October 14th.
That's when their commission expires. That's the notary. No, this has all been submitted to the attorney, and it's legal. You don't think for a moment that they would permit me in here if it
Well,
wasn't?
my job is just to make sure.
What's your job?
My job as an attorney is to make sure.
What's your name?
My name is Jonathan Kahn, K-A-H-N.
You have a card?
No,
All right.
no. But I'm just making
Yeah,
sure.
no. We dotted the I's and crossed the
No
T's.
problem.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan.